great to be with a crowd where the IT guy gets a spontaneous round of applause. I do appreciate that. For most of you, I guess this is your first time visit to Dryden, and you know, a lot of you see NASA, and the big focus is on space. So welcome to Dryden. You guys are out here, and I do appreciate the energy and enthusiasm you as the social community bring to NASA, and the message you get out. You know, you're out here to see, you know, the end of the shuttle program. Literally on Friday will be the last flight of a NASA shuttle. Now that's not the end of NASA. That's not the end of manned space flight by any means. I mean, this is just, you know, the close of one chapter in what's going to be a long, long book. And so, and that's how you should see this. You know, the shuttle, like any aircraft, like any vehicle, has a lifespan, and it served very well for 30 years. And so that's how it needs to be remembered. It served its purpose and did very well for 30 years. Christian will give you a little bit more detail on the history. I said 59 shuttles landed here at Edwards at Dryden, and that includes 5 of the approach and landing tests. So Dryden was, you know, critical in the development of the space shuttle program and all the technologies that came together to make it possible. But NASA still has got a big future. I mean, we have activities going on. You saw the Mars Science Lab land here in August. I mean, huge engineering event, probably the hardest thing NASA's done in the last decade, landing something as big and significant as the Mars Science Lab on Mars. It's just starting. It's just starting to get its wheels spinning, and it really hasn't done any science. It's just doing initial calibrations right now. Big science coming out of that. We'll see 2 years of science. The International Space Station, we've had Americans on space, on orbit continuously now for the last, what is it, 11, 12 years now? And that's going to go on for the rest of the decade. The Space Launch System, we're getting it done. It seems slow, but you got to keep in mind, we're doing all of NASA's work now for about 1/2 of the national GDP. In the Apollo program, we did that program with about 6% of GDP. So if you really looked at NASA, and if the country gave us, I guess just an order of magnitude, $180 billion or $200 billion instead of the 18 or 17 we get now, we could have SLS and Men on the Moon easily within a couple of years. But you know, that's the choices we're making right now. So please take a look at what we're doing here. As you walk around today, keep in mind that this is an active flight center, and so we have in the hangars there are safety hazards. Don't touch any of the aircraft unless you speak to one of the crew members first. They're happy to show you around, happy to let you see things. Keep it safe. We're operating today all over the world. I've got Global Hawks. You're going to see one of our Global Hawks downstairs. We're operating Global Hawks off the East Coast today, chasing, I think it's Hurricane Nadine, or what, Tropical Storm Nadine, which will be Hurricane Nadine very soon. We're doing hurricane research and hurricane flights from here, from the Dryden Flight Research Center. We're doing cryospheric work around the world. We'll be in Punta Arenas, Chile in 2 weeks, operating out of over Antarctica for through Thanksgiving, and looking at some significant changes happening to the global cryosphere. Every business hour of every day, there's something flying somewhere in the world from Dryden, and it's all unique. It's all doing research. You know, our motto is turning ideas into reality, into advancing technology and science through flight. And so the types of aircraft we fly are F-18s, F-15s, F-16s, or high-performance aircraft. We're doing civil research on those that apply to making aircraft safer. And every aircraft in the world today flies with NASA technology that was developed here at Dryden. Some of the work we're flying, the X-48C, I don't think you'll have a chance to see that today, but that's the shape of aircraft of the future. It gets you about 40% more fuel efficiency than a current aircraft. Collision avoidance, which will lead to crash-proof aircraft and eliminate controlled flight into terrain, which is still the largest cause of loss of life in aircraft. We supported Mars Science Lab in testing the approach radar systems for that, validating and fine-tuning the radars that enable the Mars Science Lab to do its final approach and landing using our F-18, flying supersonic toward the ground, which was a pretty exciting flight to calibrate the radar systems for the sequencing of the events that led to the successful landing on Mars. I mean, a huge event, and that's something for the country and for the whole world to be proud of. Commercial spaceflight, you know, there's the next generation of vehicles that look like the shuttle, the Dream Chaser made by Sierra Nevada, one of the winners in the Commercial Crew program. So we'll be doing approach and landing tests with a full-size Dream Chaser here very soon. We're doing unique work with some of the commercial space folks at Mojave, the mast and zombie aircraft. I mentioned the Global Hawks. They're flying all over the world. We're doing air-to-air refueling between 2 Global Hawks, which is autonomous, which also applies to space flight. How satellites can rendezvous and dock in orbit is very similar to how an unmanned aircraft. And I mentioned the hurricane climate work we're doing. So we're reaching out. We're doing cryospheric work. This is some images from our last campaign in Chile last October. So we saw an iceberg, you know, the size of Manhattan break off in one chunk. So it's a significant. We're seeing significant changes. Sophia, we host that vehicle in Palmdale. It's a 2.7 meter infrared telescope installed in the back of the 747, a 20-ton telescope that opens up to the atmosphere. That's a different topic for today, but that's going to be providing some incredible science for the next 20 years. So welcome to Dryden. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for sharing the energy. And remember, this is just the end of one chapter, but not the close of the book. So any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
When was Dryden founded?
Dryden was founded in 1946. So we came out here. We were set up as a facility of the NASA Langley Memorial Lab back then, or NACA. It was before NASA. Mm-hmm. And so we were set up here to enable the X-1, the orange aircraft in the corner in the photo, for the first supersonic flights. And so, you know, we fly the things that people say can't be flown. And back then, before we did it, you know, supersonic flight in the sound barrier was seen as a real barrier. So that's when and how Dryden got established.
Okay, and then got adopted by NASA when?
In 1958, with the signing of the National Aeronautics and Space Act, there were the actually 3 NACA centers: Lewis, which is now Glenn Research Center; Langley in Hampton, Virginia; Ames up at Moffett Field; the Jet Propulsion Lab, which was an Army facility, and the Redstone Arsenal all came together, added Goddard, Stennis, and it's grown from there. In 1958, we all came together as the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Can you describe the relationship? I mean, in the history of powered jet flight. And I say this. My grandpa worked on the jet engine at GE back in the 30s and 40s of turbine generation, and so I know that he came out here. I guess at Muroc, was it?
Muroc, yeah.
And could you just?
And I think Christian will talk. Were you going to touch on that, Christian? So Christian is our historian, and he'll be going through all of that.
Okay. Okay. Well, just as long as that's covered.
Yeah, I think you'll be covering that. History. Christian is an excellent historian and knows all the details, all the skeletons, where all the skeletons are buried. Yes, sir.
This might be a little bit premature, but I keep getting asked this. So, can you give a little bit more detail on the after it departs on Friday, what the flight plan is for Northern California?
The flight plan, I think we're scheduled to go over Sacramento and San Francisco, and this is all weather dependent because the shuttle is a very delicate vehicle, and so it's weather dependent. Fly over the Bay Area if the weather is clear. You know, I was actually there yesterday morning at Ames Research Center. It'd be about this time in the morning. It didn't look too good. It was all socked in, so I'm not sure how or what the plans will be there. We'll fly down the coast and then do a couple laps around. You saw the video. I think for those who were here in time to see it land at Ellington Field, we'll do the same kind of thing. Do a couple laps around Los Angeles. I don't have, or I can't give you the specifics of the exact flight paths and trajectories, but we'll do a couple laps around Los Angeles and take a few photos and then land at LAX at about 11ish. Is that 11 or 12? Somewhere around that time.
Assuming the weather's sort of okay over the Bay Area, is there anyone around who I might be able to find out about what exactly the flight plan is over San Francisco?
I don't know, Kevin, is that releasable?
I would say the Golden Gate Bridge is probably a prime landmark they'll try and fly near. And I would speculate that downtown San Francisco would be included, but we're not giving out the exact details of it. So if you could work with those two landmarks, that's probably the best we can do.
That's great. Thank you.
I'd follow at NASA Ames on Twitter. They're going to be posting stuff real time on that, on where it's going to be in the Bay Area.
And then it'll be around between 9 and 10 a.m.?
Yeah, approximately. Yeah, depending on whether it is.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
How many employees do you actually have here at Dryden?
At Dryden, we have about 1,300 contractors and civil servants here doing the work we do. And that's split across two facilities. We have the main campus here at Dryden, and we have our aircraft operations facility in Palmdale at Air Force Plant 42, where we keep our Sophia, our DC-8, our ER-2. All our manned science aircraft are maintained in Palmdale. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is a historical question, but who is Dryden?
Hugh L. Dryden was the last administrator of NACA, the National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, and that was the precursor to NASA, and the first deputy administrator to NASA. Yes, sir.
I understand you're the youngest center director here.
Oh, here probably. I'm not quite sure about that. I'd have to check. I might look younger than I've been here for 30 years.
30 years.
So I'd have to check. I'm not sure. Any other questions for me? If not, I'll turn the floor back over. And thank you for coming out. And thank you again for your support of NASA and getting the message out that NASA is alive and well. The work we're doing is exciting. The science we're doing is critical to the future of the country and the world, and the research we do in aeronautics and aviation. You know, aeronautics is still the largest contributor to the balance of trade and one of the biggest economic drivers as this country tries to get the economy back on its wheels. And so aeronautics and aerospace are key to that, and the work we do at NASA in aeronautics and aeronautics research, although a small part of the overall NASA portfolio, is critical to that economic health of the country. So thank you.